Hello and welcome to episode 54 of our Conversations to Connect. Let's Get Real Talk, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. At Exceptional Connections, we offer intentional and innovative solutions to boost your business. Each month, we nominate a different member of our community to have a meaningful conversation with. So be sure to make yourself comfortable with a cup of tea or a beverage of your choice. And around the 45-minute mark, I'll unmute the lines and we'll be able to engage in this thought-provoking conversation. So in the course of these 54 episodes, we've encouraged and supported our community to stay together, stay connected during these challenging and uncertain times. And so as we get started here, I want to invite you to set aside any distractions and invest your attention in the conversation that's about to unfold. And just look for one idea that you can take away and implement immediately into your business so you don't cheat yourself out of any time that you've invested here. So our conversation to connect this week is with Molly Klipp, the amazing Molly Klipp from Marysville, Washington. Welcome, Molly.
Hi there. Nice to be here.
We are in for a treat. Molly was our spotlight speaker for our March event, sold out March event, and so many juicy ideas and thought-provoking, things that'll really propel us in our businesses. So before we dive into our conversation, I want to take a moment to introduce Molly to our listeners who may not know her. So Molly Klipp, CPCP, is the sole owner of Carefree Beauty Permanent Makeup with 2 locations in Lynnwood and Arlington. She'll give you updates, and this is in Washington. She's been practicing permanent cosmetics for over 9 years with 3,500 procedures and specializes in permanent eyebrows, eyeliners, lips, and scalp pigmentation, micropigmentation. So she also teaches a 100-hour course in fundamentals for new students, which includes how to start your own business. And Molly's 30 years of running a multi-million-dollar cosmetics franchise, teaching thousands of women how to build their businesses, drives her to help others to build their business strong from the first day they open their doors. So Molly's been married to John for 45 years. She has 4 grown children, 3 grandsons, lives in Marysville, Washington, and loves to travel. You'll be hearing more of that from Molly. She loves to learn and is constantly taking classes and developing her permanent makeup skills and marketing expertise. So take it away, Molly.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, and I'm excited to be here today with all you ladies. And it was fun to present last Tuesday. This subject is very near and dear to my heart, and I have actually taught this class to my permanent makeup artist friends at a couple of different times, and it was in my quarterly magazine as well for the SPCP, Society of Permanent Cosmetics Professionals. And CPCP, what that means is Certified Permanent Cosmetics Professional, and it's an exam you have to take to qualify to have that title on you. So people asked me that last week. I thought, oh, okay, I should probably tell you what that means. So this is something that has come to me. I have been a business owner for 40 years, and I was telling Cyndi that I have an unusual combination of skills. I'm a businesswoman. I am an artist. I am a geek. I am a nerd. Okay. I love to create on the computer. I can also quilt. I'm kind of have a combination of a whole bunch of different things. I have a lot of interests that I love to do. I'm in the process of doing this Storyworth for my kids. So that's a whole nother story, if you've ever heard of that. But today, what we want to talk about is profit and play and balancing both. And I was actually asked to do this by a colleague friend of mine down in Texas, because this is something she struggles with. She's been in the permanent makeup industry for 30 years and she struggles with this. So she asked me, because we just had a conversation. She goes, you need to teach something on this. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. So basically, I broke it down to a three steps is profit and play. There's 3 questions you have to ask yourself. You know, your time is your life. You know, what do you do with your time? What do you do with your life? Systems. And let me ask you guys a question. Would it be helpful if I showed you the screens that I did? Would that be helpful to show the screens as I talk about them? Because I can do that. All right, let's pop that in here. So let's do this here. This one. Okay, and we'll share this one. That way you can kind of get a chance to be able to see. All right, there we go. So you're talking about your time, your life, systems that simplify your life. And I have taken multiple courses on how to do some of this stuff. Everybody can see my screen? Okay, good. And then buckets of money, which is really fun to talk about. So we'll talk where we go from there. The question you have to ask yourself is, what do you want your life to look like? And this is a really important part of our life. Most of us, we have all sorts of ages that we work with. I'm 66 at this point. And so being able to look back to some of the things that I've done and the things that really made me happy, and travel and family, that's everything. These pictures are from all these different places that I've traveled to: Santorini, Greece, Alaska, the cruises, been to Cancun, Cozumel. In part of this story worth, one of the things that the stories that we wrote was all the places we've been. And it was interesting to be able to pull up the map of the world to show the places that we've been to. But that's important, to me and my husband. We have that family shot. Remember I told you Terry Gimmer? Okay, she took that shot. And just enjoying ourselves. We have a timeshare down in Mexico. We like to go to it once a year. But that's important to us. So what do you want your life to look like? What's important to you? And if you were to put together a screen or a dream board, what would it look like to you? You have to begin your strategy. You have to know how much work you want to do and how much you want to play. And so that's a really important thing. And I think COVID, which we'll talk about, it really kind of gave me a little bit more. Are you a full-time person in what you do? Or are you a part-time person? This is not right or wrong question. This is just, what is it for you? And what does full-time look to you? How many days a week and which days? At the time, when I started doing permanent cosmetics, it was basically 6 days a week. I always take Sunday off. That was never an option. Sunday was always our family day. It was 6 days a week, and I worked in Arlington and I worked in Lynnwood. Then after COVID, it became 4 days a week, and that was Mondays and Thursdays in Lynnwood, and on Wednesdays and Fridays in Arlington, and Tuesdays was my admin day. And we'll talk about that why too. Now, starting May 1st, it's actually going to switch and be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's going to be working in Lynnwood, and Mondays and Fridays are going to be my days off. One will be an admin, one will be a play day. So all of these different things are decisions that you need to make that's going to make your life work. It's not just work doesn't come to you and then you decide when you're going to do it. You really have to decide and cut your time into it. So how many days a week, what days work for you? How many appointments, conversations, or sales do you need to have that makes it important for you? For me, I know 5 procedures a day. That's important to me, and that could be eyeliner, brows, lips, scalp, micropig, but it's 5. That's my number. So 15 a week, that's my number. You have to figure out what your number is. And if you are part-time, the same questions all apply. Again, when I started doing this isn't how I started. I started with 2 to 3 days a week, or excuse me, 2 to 3 procedures a week. That's how I started. And then it built to 3 to 4, and then it built to 5 to 6. My ultimate was 15 to 20. So you have to figure out where you're starting and where you want it to end. And you got to think about these things because that's what drives you. Do you offer other services? This is something else you got to look to. Is what you do the only thing you do, or do you have a side gig that you do? Pro Cell, I consider my side gig. Alouette is still my side gig for me. I learned years ago 7 streams of income. That's, you want to be able to having 7 different streams of income coming in. What are your different streams of income coming in? And if you do offer other services, how much do you do each week? Now, I've been a makeup artist for 40 years. I have been asked many times to do makeup. I don't do that anymore. It's not worth my time. I have lovely people who I can send out that's their gig. That's what they do. I would rather give the business to them because it's not worth my time anymore to do that. You have to ask yourself what pays the best. And then the question is, does it matter to you? Because sometimes doing something that doesn't pay you a lot, but gives you high satisfaction, those are things you have to look to as what's important to you. And then what's your long-term goal? I told you what mine was. What is your long-term goal? What is a perfect life? And this is the way I put it, is what is a perfect life for you that is going to be what's going to be perfect for you? How many appointments? What does your life look like if it's perfect? I call it my perfect world. And I talk to my clients all the time. We have these conversations, these deep conversations. So when you come in, we'll be having a deep conversation. What motivates you? Is it money or time or both? You know, those are kind of some of the things that you look to. Do you have a plan or a strategy? And what does your bank account say? You know, is that important to you? Is that something that drives you? What does your body say? Because if what you do is something that's hard on your body, you know, do you know what you got to do? I mean, I know permanent makeup artists to do 15, 16 procedures in a day. That's hard on your body. I choose not to do that because that's not good for my body. And then what's your long-term goal? And do you schedule your time strictly? This is where the decisions come in, and decisions are only made once. Okay. You don't sit there and decide every day. It's decisions made once. I have lost weight. I can't tell you how many times in my life. Okay. I find when I do the best is I make one decision and that decision stands until the weight's off. Okay. It can't be every morning going, oh, what am I going to eat today? When yesterday I made the decision I wanted to drop, you know. So those are some decisions you got to make. Is there anything holding you back? How far out are you scheduled? Are you happy with the way your scheduled look? Do you have as many appointments, conversations, sales, procedures, whatever it is you do? Do you have as many on the books as you want? Do you need to change anything? Meaning, do you need more training? Do you need mentoring? Do you need coaching? Do you need someone to help you to get to the next level? Maybe an accountability partner. You know, is that something that would help for you? And do you have a time frame in which to make this happen? I have to say, when I started doing permanent makeup, when we sold the franchise, I gave myself 12 months because I'm the breadwinner in the family. I gave myself 12 months to get myself back up to the six-figure income I was used to. It took me 11 months to do it, but I also had a goal of another goal that I wanted to be able to hit, but it took me longer to hit it than I expected to. And there was some different things that I had to do. And COVID kind of threw off some of it because I always drove my business by networking. A couple of years ago, or after when COVID hit, I had to change and start to pay for paid marketing that I had never done before. So I had to switch that. It's been a very good decision that I made, but it's more expensive for me. So sometimes you have to kind of shift gears in the middle of stuff because something happens.
Molly, I want to interject for a second.
Yeah.
I just, especially before you hit COVID here, because I just want to underline all the wonderful questions that you've asked yourself that have helped you to get where you're at today.
Mhm.
And how important that is for all of us. And, you know, also stepping back from our own lives.
Yeah.
And being able to, you know, I love the way you always say, you know, work with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So you want to see the big picture of our lives and then ask the questions that are going to help us to get there. So
Right.
I think that's really brilliant. And I appreciate the reminder and also the importance of asking really good questions.
We get so caught up in the minutia of life. You know, my husband and I had these conversations all the time, and, you know, he'll be reading something or doing something, and I'm like, that's not going to move me forward. So I can't have any negativity in my life. Everything has to be positive because it's got to help me or help our family to get the goals that we want. He keeps me grounded. It's good. This is a good thing.
Well, we need that, you know, the pole and the flag, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, it's you got to have somebody who keeps you grounded because I'd be flying up here all the time. You know, that's just kind of where I'm at all the time. No, those are good. And I've always asked myself these questions because if you don't keep yourself accountable, I don't know who can. You know, there's a book Robert Kiyosaki wrote called Cash Flow Quadrant. And if you've ever read the book, he talks about there are 4 categories. There's employees. These are people who are better working for somebody else. There's self-employed people. And this is that definition is that if you don't work, you don't get paid. You're self-employed. Then there's the business owner. And that means that if you go on vacation for a month, you're still making money. And then you have the investor, and those are people that, you know, don't have to work at all, and all their investments actually pay all their bills. So, you know, you figure out which category, and I've pretty much gone from self-employed to business owner a number of different times. I decided a long time ago that I am totally, completely unemployable because if somebody hired me, I'd be telling them what to do in the first 10 minutes and it wouldn't be pretty. So
Yeah. And, when I've in coaching people over the years myself with my, my businesses,
business. Yep.
I always tell people that are self-employed or, just want to encourage them.
Right.
The good news is you are your own boss.
Right.
The bad news is you are your own boss.
That's right. That's right.
Nobody's going to tell you what to do. And so some people need somebody to guide them, and
Yep.
you could hire a coach,
Yeah.
listen to Molly here, but in the end, as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners, our superpower is being able to not have somebody, breathe over us, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So you want to make sure that because you have to become self-disciplined to be able to do all the stuff we talk about. So what COVID taught me. So know exactly how many appointments you want to do each week, which we've talked about. Know what your goal is for weekly income. I know my number. Do you know your number? Choose specifically what days of the work you want to choose what days of the week you want to work and stick to it. Don't deviate. When somebody says to me, can you do an appointment on Tuesday? Nope. That's my admin day. Do you want to do a Saturday? The only time I will do a Saturday is if I'm teaching. I do teach fundamental training as well, and I'll teach on a Saturday. But you have to be very specific about it. Realize that family and personal life comes first, and you have to put that into your schedule first. One of the things that I know that I need to work on is my personal health, and that I got to actually schedule that too, because I'm not good at that. Take one day a week to do admin work, be creative, hire an assistant live or virtual or do both. That was a game changer for me. I have to tell you, that was huge, huge for me, because I am the one, I laugh because my buddy up north, her husband does all of her admin. He makes the phone calls, he books her appointments, he sends out everything, he does it all. I do it all myself, but I have created systems so that I don't have to pay somebody else to do that. Now, I will pay money for things that are going to help me that I don't want to do, which is Facebook ads. I've got a guy who does that for me. And then I hired Charlie and Heather to do all my social media, which has been awesome. Okay, it's been awesome, because I can do it. I am super creative. I can do all that stuff, but my consistency sucked. It was not something, and I know you can do it 45 days in advance. I know you can do all that, but it's so much nicer when you get somebody that's outside the box to be able to put a light on you that you won't necessarily shine, because we tend to be a little bit more humble in ourselves and we don't necessarily shine. And in my business, you have to sparkle in order for people to, come and pay attention to you. So those are some decisions you have to make for yourself. And well, we'll talk some more. I've got some other things.
COVID really did put things in perspective for a lot of us. I know,
it did. It really did.
Caused us to really value human connection and relationships.
Yep.
Family, and then really take the time to look at the big picture in our lives and where we're going. Because I think a lot of us, and myself included, I had to really stop and reevaluate a lot of things in my life, and in terms of what do I want my life to look like, and not just be on this, like, what do they call it, a hamster wheel.
Hamster wheel. Just
right?
doing to the do, and that's not necessarily getting you where you want to go. You got to know where you want to go. So, we talked about deciding how many days you need to work each week. Do they need to be consecutive? Vacations are vital. Okay. I've always known that. My buddy down in Texas, who I developed this class for to begin with, when she heard it, she calls me now. Okay. I just want to let you know, I just booked a vacation to go to Hilton's Head. Okay. I'm going here. I mean, she now reports to me. I'm her accountability partner for her vacations.
Oh my gosh.
That she's going places. Do you have a list of places that you want to go or do? And for some people, vacations is not it, but might be something else. Maybe it's a class you want to take. Maybe it's, something that's important to you, but you got to take time to do it. Maybe it's quilting, it could be anything, but the whole point comes down to is it give yourself the reason to do the things you want to do, because you're want to do something else.
Right. What energizes you, right?
Yes. Yes. What energizes you? That's a very good way. What energizes you? You know, I have a list of classes that I want to take. I know that I'm going to the SPCP convention in Fort Worth in October. You know, those are important to me. So those are things that I've got to save up for, and that we'll talk about that, how to make that happen.
So they're motivations also, right?
They're
Having
total
those vacations
motivations.
out there is your
Yeah.
carrot. It keeps you accountable. There's joy there. And then also you have to plan your work schedule around that.
Right.
And, I've always heard, and I've found this to be true for myself as well, that, you're most productive like a week or two before you go on a vacation.
Yeah.
Think of
You
how
get
much
more
we
done.
get done before we
Yep.
go on a vacation, right?
When my husband and I were business partners when we owned the Alouette franchise, and he'd always be talking about paying the bills. And I said, I cannot discuss talking about the bills, which is horrible for me. I'm in some ways good, in some ways bad. I said, talk to me about the vacation we're going to take when the bills are paid, because it does not motivate me to pay the bills, but it motivates me of the vacation we're going to take because we paid the bills. I said,
I
that's
love
what I
that,
got to talk
Molly.
about.
That's beautiful because that means you're self-aware. You know what
Yeah.
shuts you down and what lights you up.
Exactly. Exactly. And since I've done Carefree Beauty and I've totally taken over all of the business sides of it, Debbie Page, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, showed me how to do that. And it's made our life so simple. So we'll talk about that too. So many things to talk about. Systems was another thing. And this was, there was somebody that was at Exceptional Connections years ago. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember who it was, but I remember saying, you got to get systems in your business in order to be able to make things happen. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I've got to systemize my business. I got to systemize my business, but I didn't know exactly how to do that. And it's taken years for me to be able to get what's systemized and what's systemized enough that you can be able to, when the time's right, you can sell your business. Like I said to Cyndi earlier, is that when I began Carefree Beauty Permanent Makeup, I began with the end in mind, so that I could sell the business. And so I named it to sell the business. I set up my website to be able to sell the business. I've got my email letters, constant contact, my newsletters, everything I use Mailbox Power, which we'll talk about. And all of this, with the fact is that it's a turnkey company. When I'm ready to retire from Carefree Beauty, doesn't mean I'm retiring from permanent makeup. I'm going to start another company at some point, and I'll be over on Eastern Washington doing it. But when I sell Carefree Beauty, it will be all encompassed, so that when somebody starts, all they do is they have an entire clientele, they have a whole system that they can keep it running. So what can you do in your business to systemize it so that it makes it sellable when the time's right? These are all the reasons why I did this.
So creating a turnkey business is what I'm hearing you
creating
say.
a turnkey business. So a booking system, it allows online booking. That's important to me. I laugh. My buddy is old school. Okay. I love her. She's old school. She will not turn her online. I got her on to doing the booking system, but she won't turn her online on because she wants to hear the phone calls. I'm sitting there going, I get very few phone calls for people to book. They'll text me, they'll email me. Most of the time they'll book online. I'll get a few phone calls with it. Why would I waste my time when I can actually, just have them book? It's so much simpler. So it lowers phone calls in your time to make it easier for yourself. There are a number of different online appointment schedules that many of you use now. In mine, it's a salon, Envision Spa and Salon. Now, for me, that works. There are other scheduling, and some of you use it because you do appointments over the phone, you do Zoom calls, you're working with people, and there's different scheduling options. Deb Page, I know, uses a really good one. Those are really effective ones. It also says to people that you're in business. Okay, that's a really big deal, having a scheduling system. My system automatically sends out emails, text messages that remind your clients when their appointments are. So I have mine all systemized. In fact, I spent all day yesterday on it because I had to do some updates, so I can go into the system, and everything had to be for me that I could go in. So I flipped over my website yesterday, did some updates. That was my yesterday thing, updating all that. I like to do that stuff. Not everybody has that talent. And if that's something that you need somebody else to do, you make a list and give them to do it. Mine automatically sends out a thank you. And I've also got a link set up that people can do Google reviews and Facebook reviews for me. And that's consistent. If you don't ask for reviews, if you don't ask them, you don't get them. And I tell people, I said, people believe you every day of the week over me. And I would appreciate if you would write something, because they would leave going, oh my gosh, I can't believe what a difference my eyebrows. I mean, whatever it is. And I said, please, would you write a review for me? And then I automatically send them out when I close out their appointment, it sends off a thank you to them. And in there, it gives them a link as to where they can post their reviews on that. Those are some things that streamline. People look for reviews. Yelp is no longer important. Okay, don't ever use Yelp. I'm just going to tell you that. But Google reviews and Facebook reviews are a game changer. I used to have, I don't know how many in my Facebook. I got hacked about 3 years ago now. So lost all of that stuff. So it's one of the things is that I really focus on Google reviews. I say Facebook's there, but I focus on Google reviews because that's not going to get hacked. That's going to stay. And people look at it. And so having 64 5-star reviews and all of you lovely people making comments to me, people look at that stuff and they come to me because of that. It makes a big difference.
Especially in your industry, Molly,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, it's permanent makeup and it's on your face, right? So you want somebody who's highly skilled, highly credible,
Right.
and that you trust.
Well, and it's no different for, you know, Brenda or you or both Brendas. Okay. You know, everybody who has a business of their own, even if you're sitting there going, well, what could they write a review? Well, think about if you had a review, what would it, and it was a good one, what would it sound like? And then what you do is you target your clients or your customers to say, would you write a review for me? You know, Cyndi, you could do the same thing with your clients who did it. Hey, please write a review on Mailbox Power. That's powerful. People read that stuff and they want to know how important it is for that. But you got to ask for them because they won't do it. We talked about reviews. You know, do you have a system to ask for reviews? We talked about all this. I do a monthly newsletter. In fact, I just sent it out. And the monthly, and the funny thing is about the monthly newsletter, because of my background and my beauty background, I thought it was going to be all about beauty tips and I was going to talk about all this stuff. What it's become, and this is just me, okay? People know who I am. I don't hide who I am. I'm just all out there. When, anybody who's come into me, Brenda, remember we talked about life, we talked about kids, we talked about grandkids. I mean, it's all, and that's what my newsletters are. They really talk about my trips of where I've been. And, I just sent one out the other day and told them about my shift of, starting May 1st, I will be in Lynnwood full time. I'm going to be exclusive in Lynnwood on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays down there now. And that starts May 1st. Sending that out, I sent out, pictures of St. Patrick's Day of us, teaching these young kids how to do Irish car bombs. I mean, it's like random. There's all this stuff that's all over the place. I put in their Storyworth and people just get a kick out of it. And they'll just email me back going, I just love your newsletter. Because it's just me. It's like having a conversation with me. And that's what those newsletters have become. I have like a 45% open rate on those. So, I mean, which is very high. And that it's just because they want to see who you are. So don't worry about necessarily being so professional, that people have to see just the professional side. Kim Thompson, who's a good friend of mine, she sends out newsletters and they come from the company, but she does a personal touch on every one of them because it just screams Kim Thompson, who she is. I also put in my monthly newsletter, I highlight a review of somebody who did something. It could have been this month, could have been, months ago, but I will highlight those and I will, and I'll post it and say, thank you for reviews. I also do referral thank yous. Anybody who sends me a referral that they come in to get their procedure done, I'll give them $50 off their next procedure and I'll send them brownies, which sounds crazy. And this is all through Mailbox Power. I'm going to get to that because I do have that written here. Let me back up here. Merchant accounts is another huge one. I used to do Square, which a lot of us did. And then I met David DeConte through my BNI connection, networking, of course. And he said, hand me your bill. Let me see how much money I can save you. And it figured out that it was over $500 a year he could save me by going through Clover Go. And this is what I didn't understand. And this was like a big aha moment for me because I have a big ticket item. He said 60% of the business that people do is through their debit card. And debit cards, and back then when we did it, it was like 1.22. It might be 1.25 now. Is you pay less on a card that's in existence, that's there, and it's a debit card than you do on a credit card. Credit card can be 3% or more, but debits can be like 1.25. And he said 60% of the business is done through debit. That's just a fact. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, and I told him this. I said, I don't think so in mine. That might be true in coffee shops or this or this or this. He was right. I went back and looked. 60% of my business was through debit cards. And that's a huge savings. When you think about when you're paying one flat fee, you're paying too much. And the other thing that made a difference on this that I didn't have a chance to say is it also gives them a chance to tip. I was used to being in a retail business that didn't tip. This is a service business that people tip. And I used to get people mad at me because I didn't allow them to tip because I wasn't used to it. My system now just takes care of it. I don't even have to think about it. It takes care of it. But David is awesome. He jumps through hoops for you, and definitely recommend if you want to do that. The other one was a bookkeeper. And this was one of the things Deb Page, when she was my business coach for a year, said to me, how much do you think it costs for a bookkeeper a month? And I said, oh, probably $1,000 a month. She goes, Molly, if it was $200 a month, would you do it? I said, hands down, yeah, I would do it. So she hooked me up with a bookkeeper, which I kept for a couple of months, but then I found through my BNI connection, Julie Stivers, who is amazing. She totally took over my bookkeeping. That, I have to say, of all these different decisions I've made in the last 5 years, that was probably one of the biggest ones that I made. Huge, because what it did is it takes care of all the expenses and revenue that allows me to play. They will take care of all the, bank accounts. They put everything to expenses and profit. And so you can look to see what your profit and expense is. I can know how much of my business is in Lynnwood, how much is in Arlington. I have hands on all the time, knowing exactly what it was. When I incorporated last year, they took care of all the paperwork. They pay my sales tax. Makes it easier to get loans, mortgages, because you have a paper trail. Huge difference. And my accountant, because I have a different accountant to do my taxes, I swear to God, she had a party, champagne, the whole thing when she found that I got a bookkeeper, because it simplified everything. I mean, this year's taxes, I remember sitting down going, okay, it's going to take me all day to do it. It took me 2 hours to get everything together because it was all done. So that's huge. And my husband's like, yeah, he says, of all the things we did in our other business that we wish we had done, that would have been something that we wish that we did, is had a bookkeeper when we had the Alouette franchise. That would have changed a lot of things. So that's a big one. Automate. Okay, this is where the mailbox power comes in. Cyndi had gotten me into banner season. I had done send out cards, but she got me into banner season, which changed over to mailbox power. This one has been a total complete game changer for me. Because people like getting nice cards in the mail, no matter what. You can send out emails, text messages. Bottom line, people like pretty, and they like to open an envelope, or they like to get a postcard. Okay, that is absolutely true fact. I get people all the time going, thank you for my birthday card. And I'm like, oh, thank God it was automated, because I wouldn't have remembered. Okay, so and this is all part of my begin with the end in mind, because I'm systemizing things. So when I sell this, they get this too, right? So thank you for coming to see me. And every year I design these in Canva. So these are all my designs. And so I designed this in Canva. Thank you for choosing Carefree Beauty Permanent Makeup. And again, put my pictures. I have written stuff on the back of the postcard. When they do pro sell, I have this one that goes out. This is my thank you card. I love that one. I just think that's so cool. It was just, and Canva has all this fun stuff you can do. And then you can just copy and paste it and put it over into mailbox power. The brownies, that was a COVID moment as well. Because when COVID hit, I was bored. I don't do well not having control. Okay. It was not a good time for me. And so when I went back a whole year and said, who sent me business? So I sent out a referral card, and I sent out brownies to all of them. I have to say, hands down, the brownies do more for me than any $50 they get off. I mean, they posted it on Facebook. Look what I got. I mean, it was hilarious. And they're so good. I mean, they are so good. So, and then I do an automatic, I have an anniversary date in there. So 1 year from when I saw them, and they automatically get an anniversary. It's been a year since I've seen you. Are you needing a color boost? Again, top of mind, keeping you at top of mind. So between my newsletters and this, they're always hearing from me. And they just feel like they're my best friend, which I just absolutely love. So it just keeps people remembering you. Buckets of money. And I know we're coming short on time, so I want to make sure that we get, are we okay, Cyndi?
Yeah, we're good. We're gonna go up until 12:45.
Okay. All
And then
right.
we'll
So
open it up.
I'm going to work through this pretty quick. Profit First is a book I really recommend to get. And I've heard this for 40 years in business. And it always said, pay yourself first. I never got that, what that meant, because I thought I got to pay my bills first. I can't pay myself first. This doesn't make any sense to me. And so Debbie told me to buy the book, which I did. I followed directions really well. I'm a good leader, but I followed directions really, really well. She told me that I had to pay myself first. And then she talked about the buckets of money. And this was a big aha moment because I didn't know you could do this. And that was one of the questions that got asked last Tuesday. You can do that? You could do, Panks will let you do this. So when you open up your business account, you open up a main checking. Now I have, these are all the different categories that I have, and they are listed like this as savings accounts. So main checking, income tax, rent, sales tax, insurance dues or classes, profit account, investments, okay, whatever categories you are. So every week I will literally put the money, and I'll talk about this. I put the money in each of the accounts that's going to take care of that. So by the time they come due, it's all done. I don't have to think about it. Okay. That has released so much stress off of my life by doing this. And I never even knew you could. That was the big deal.
So can we go back to that for a second? I
Yep,
want to
go
make
for
sure
it.
everybody understands it because I think it's really brilliant. So you can create, have a checking account at a bank, and then
Yep.
under that checking account have multiple savings
savings accounts, and list what they are, what they're for.
Wow.
So in my, Wells Fargo, and all the banks will do it, but Wells Fargo, when I went in, the guy's like looking at me going, you want to make that? I'm like, yeah. He says, okay. And my bookkeeper, they just kind of look at me and go, okay, but that makes my life easy because they know, exactly where everything goes. So when because I'm a service business, but in the state of Washington, I'm considered retail sales. So I have to pay sales tax. So my bookkeeper pays for my sales tax. So every week I take 10% and of whatever my revenue was for the week, and it goes into that account. So by the time it's owed, the money's all there. I don't have to think about it.
Right.
So there's no thought pattern with that. The less that you have to think about stuff, the better performance you do as whatever it is you do. So get rid of the stuff.
I love that. And then Brenda is mentioning in the chat box that credit unions are great for that.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, Brenda.
Whatever book. Thanks. So whether you're a sole proprietor or incorporated or LLC, this works for all of it. So I do this weekly because, I get paid daily, right? So, and however you get paid, you do this at that time. So for me, it's week. I take 15%. I take my income tax. That goes into one account. 10% sales tax, if applicable, that's where I do it. I started off with 1% profit because I couldn't understand how I could literally do that. How could I afford to do that? Okay. And then I bumped it to 2% and then 3%. Now I'm at 5%. And that literally pays for all my vacations. I mean, John and I went on 5 vacations last year, and it was all paid for with this profit account. And it used to be we would take vacations and then it would take me 3 months, 4 months to pay for it afterwards. And it was a stress level. There's no stress in this. This takes totally the stress out of it. And then the first week of the month, my rent for my office is, I take whatever my rent is, and that goes into the account the first week. And then $500 a week goes into supplies. And that's my number. You use whatever numbers you have. And you will have different categories than I do, but those are things to think about. What would be beneficial to you to make your life simpler? Does that make sense? How to use the buckets of money. Okay. We talked about my profit accounts fund all my vacations. Okay. I went to Cabo with my sisters last year. We went to Bryce Canyon, Zion. We went to Disney World. We did, what else did we do last year? We did a New England trip. We went to mau last year. I mean, there's just, where do you want to go? I love vacations. Put me on a plane. I'll go anywhere. You can also do this with classes. So if there's classes or a coach that you want to do, you can put the money aside for that too. And once you have the money, you can pay for it, because that's the same way I use my classes. For the first time in my life, I have income taxes paid for with money left over. I know I'm coming up with taxes next month, and my accountant's doing them. I don't have to think about it. But I've been paying taxes all year long. And so I'm not worried about, oh my gosh, how much am I going to owe? I don't have to think about it. Sales tax is easy. And I love to watch my bank account grow and know it's for me and my family. My husband doesn't have to think about a thing. We have sat in the hot tub and just said, he goes, this is so much simpler. He says that, and again, both of us going, if we had done this 30 years ago, our life could have been a little bit differently, but I wish,
Part
the
of the
things that I
journey.
know, part of the journey. When
Part of the
my
journey.
my youngest daughter turned 30 last November, and one of the things I did is I went to a bunch of people that I know who love her, and I said, "What advice would you give your 30-year-old self?" And I got 22 people to write advice. And so I took a Shutterfly book and I put it all together with the pictures and the advice. I wish to God I had had that book because the advice in that book is priceless. And it's like, oh, that would be something that I wish I would have had. And I just hope that she takes it to heart, what she can be doing. I take 5 or more vacations a year. This year we're going less on vacations because we're looking to buy a house in Manson and we want to run an Airbnb. I told you my perfect world. That's part of me now working to go into going to 3 days a week in Lynnwood. That's part of our plan, because with 3 days a week in Lynnwood and having a 4-day weekend, we are looking at buying an Airbnb over in Manson so that we can travel back and forth and I can still work. So that's part of the plan. Okay. We got this long-term plan of what we want to do. And for the first time in my life, I'm taking 3-week vacations and with no guilt. That's fun. That's fun. So that kind of ends my presentation there. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm creating a 5-hour module, online business training. So the information that's today, plus starting a business, setup, cost, customer acquisition, customer retention, appreciation, networking, where and when, how to get referral partners, how to get them and keep them, social media, how to make it work and make it work for you, and how to set up your business to sell when the time is right. So I am going to be developing that this year. And I've just said, anybody who wants to be on the waiting list to get that, that is, just let me know and I'll put you on the list. So we nailed the time. Okay. Go.
Yeah, no, this is great. Also, I want to mention that Molly and I are talking about doing a 2-hour skill shop for exceptional connections, where she's going to be talking about beginning with the end in mind and breaking down for us specifically, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, how to really be able to structure a business where you can sell your business, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't have to walk away from our businesses. We have those structures and systems in place. So thank you, Molly, for all the great information. Normally, we don't have slide decks on our Conversations to Connect, but Molly had so much great information that I'm glad that we were able to do this for you. So especially a lot of you that are joining us today weren't able to be a part of our March event, and I wanted to make sure that you had the benefit of that. So thank you for that, Molly.
Nope, you're welcome. There was just too much stuff on those slide decks that I thought, that might help you.
I think it was the best way to go this for your talk. So okay. Let's go ahead and open it up. Give everybody a chance to enter into our conversation, ask questions, share their own personal epiphanies. So feel free to unmute yourselves and then just raise your hand and we'll have a conversation. Everybody can unmute yourself, by the way. Anybody who wants to, but raise your hand if you have a question so I know that you're ready.
Molly, thank you for breaking down that profit first, because I read the book, got confused, didn't have a coach. A couple of us were trying to figure it out, and it's like, what? And
yeah, it's really simple when you really think about it.
Well, yeah, thank you for doing that, because I'm like, oh,
I was like, duh, right? Yeah.
I put the book aside. I don't even know where it's at, right? Because it's like, oh, this is a great idea, but
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Simplify it. Just bring it down to tiny pieces.
And I have a question, when you were talking about the 7 streams of income.
Yep.
As an entrepreneur.
Yep.
How did you decide what to do about that?
At 26 years old, I started as an entrepreneur. I was 26 when I started. And I didn't understand this. This is through time, and different seminars and classes and things that I've been to. And I had heard that. I don't remember who said it. And how I decided was if it fit together with my category. Okay, it fit together. Now, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily large streams of income, but it has to match. So I'm in the beauty industry, right? So, cosmetics is one, right? Permanent makeup is another. Pro Cell was another. I also sell the brow, the Senegence brow stuff. So, that's another category.
Which I like very much.
Okay, I do. I love those things that you're welcome. I don't sell a lot of it. Okay, but it's pieces as to what it goes together. I have dabbled in coaching and mentoring people. I've dabbled in that. you know, so, and it's all these pieces. So Airbnb is going to be another stream of income that we're going to be looking for. So it has to fit within your life. It's not like you're looking for another whole career. You're looking for things that fit within what you're doing already. Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah.
it does. And that's, I think, kind of to where affiliate stuff comes in too.
Yes.
So that you're
Affiliate.
just,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
you're helping me think about a few things. So thank
Yep.
you for that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
multiple
appreciate
streams of income are powerful. They really
Yep.
are.
Yep.
But I
Yeah.
love the way
so
you said it has to be synergistic.
Yeah, it does.
It really has to work, because
yeah.
if it doesn't make sense with who you are,
No.
Right.
don't do it.
No. And there's things that I did through time that, you know, I did it for a while. I'm like, yeah, this is not working for me. So, you know, you have to, sometimes you got to try and then, oh, okay, yeah, that's not working. Yeah.
For sure.
Anybody
Anybody else? Feel free to just jump right in.
I just find that
Mhm.
this is great timing for me because I'm doing yet another haul over because I'm about to open up my nonprofit side of my business as well.
Mhm.
So there's going to be a lot of juggling between what is profit, what is nonprofit,
Right.
and then I'm going to be opening. So as a solopreneur, you can mix your personal finances with your business, which with the level of business I had been doing in the past, it worked out fine, but not anymore.
I was going to say,
So-
you really shouldn't, no matter how
Right.
small or large your business is, you always separate it, always.
Well, because it was a service-based business, it was mostly, it had worked for me in the past, but
Mhm.
it doesn't and it won't anymore. So
There you go.
knowing about those sub accounts is fantastic. I really like that a lot because then, I mean, I like to have things automated because if I have too much going on, I just can't focus.
Oh, we do. We explode.
Yeah,
Our heads
yeah,
explode. Yeah, I get it.
yeah. So thank you for that. Hearing it second time is more helpful because we all know repetition is key to getting any habit
Yep.
going.
And this is recorded. So for those of you who want to hear it again, there you go.
There you go.
Well, Molly, tell us about your next steps, because you were mentioning something about consolidating and having all your appointments in Lynnwood. So
this
tell
has
us
been
about-
something it's been in the hopper for a while, because we knew that when I started getting my Social Security checks, which I just got my first one last month, I was so excited. Okay, anyway, silly little things. It's just like, to me, it's like free money. I know it's not, but in my head it is. And so that money, I don't need that money. So it's like, that goes into a bank account, you know, and that's just savings, you know, for us to get new cars and, you know, for the big ticket items, for, you know, down payment for the house. And so I've always known, and I've had this, you know, probably 8-year goal that we were going to buy over in Chelan, and we were going to buy an Airbnb because, again, we have to think about the end in mind. It's like retirement. I'm never retiring. It's never going to happen because I will always have something going, and the Airbnb would be one of them. And so my husband will run that because he's really good. He's so good at that stuff. He's so good with people, and he's great with, you know, making things pretty. I mean, the last 3 times we've moved, I've done absolutely nothing. He packs it all, he puts it all up, he decorates the house. He's way better at it than I am. So he does all that stuff. And so with all that in mind, the goal is that and the original, and it's funny how you have to kind of shift with goals, because the original goal is that I was going to work in my Lynnwood location 2 weeks a month, 2 to 3 weeks a month, and then be over in Chelan 1 week or 2 weeks a month, you know, where it goes. Well, this last month, things kind of shifted around. And so allowed me to be exclusive in the Lynnwood location, but they need my room to use for different things. So it wouldn't give me a whole week. So John said to me the other day, he says, you know what? He says, if you're working Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Lynnwood, we could just go to Chelan every weekend for 4 days. And when we want to take a long time, we could. And I'm like, so again, it just shifted the goal, shifted same end result, but just shifted how it was going to happen. And you just got to be open to that stuff. So, you know, the end result is that we will be able to do both.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, anybody else want to share? Was there something that Molly shared that really resonated with you to the extent that you're going to make changes in your own business or your own thinking about how you're moving forward? Just curious what.
I'll share. Hey, it's Marcel.
Oh, Marcel.
Well, and honestly, Cyndi, we need to talk because apparently you're the connector of the cards. But now that I'm doing data art with my marketing, I feel like a postcard and a photo delivered to people, custom to them, would be fantastic. I'm already doing the bucket, so I already have the tax account, savings account, I have all that, love it. But the cards I'm not doing, and that could be a good high touch, tangible thing that's custom that gets people to go, ooh, what's Marcel sending
Well,
me now?
especially
You know,
with
like,
your
versus scrolling
art,
by me
it's
on
so
Facebook, right?
beautiful, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the
that would be huge.
representation of it, and to have a key, I think that would be really cool too. So I love that. Yes, let's talk. But you know, there's so many things that we can do in our business, and I just love that you have this, you know, without a vision, my people will perish. We know that.
Mhm.
And so what I'm kind of coming away from, the inspiration for me from your talk, you know, to our community, and then today, is just being able to give myself permission to dream again, right?
Mhm.
Because there's certain times when we do, and then we get into action, we get into the do mode. And then there's the more being and the vision mode. And so just
The
being
vision is
open,
what drives me.
vision, yeah, I can tell.
Mhm.
And the minutia shuts you down.
Yeah, minutia shuts me down. You know, it has to get done. It's like I had all my projects I had to get done, and I have to write them down, you know, like there was just 5 things that I had to get accomplished, you know, and it was like, okay, so I have, you know, I'm taking an online class this afternoon on ombre eyebrows, you know, so I mean, those are things that I have to get taken care of. So I'm continuing to educate myself too, because it's never ending.
I also love the way you set things up so that it just de-stresses your life.
Yeah.
Because then you could be more effective and efficient and present.
I watch my daughter who's 42. And I remember when I was 42, running a franchise, had teenagers and babies at the same time. And I remember my life being 100% chaos. Now I have to say, I thrive in the chaos as well. It was fun for me. You know, entertainment, it's writing the Storyworth book about stories and the things that I did with the kids, but the energy I had back then too, you know, is a whole different animal. And to watch her be me, you know, which is interesting to watch because she's just like me. She's always going. And I'm sitting here going, slow down, Carrie, slow down, you know, because I can watch from the other side of it. But we had certain things that we did when the kids were young. You know, Friday night was the night everybody was home, pizza night, movie night, you know, everybody was together. We had certain traditions that we created within our family to make sure we can do that. But it's you've got to find out what slows you down, what de-stresses you. I used to laugh, you know, when everything was chaos, I would bake because that was I have to be domestic because it calms me down. So it's kind of depends on what it is that de-stresses you.
Right. Well, I love it. I love all the you know, the wisdom that you generously imparted to our community, and your friendship over the years has been a blessing. So Molly, tell our, you know, community how they can stay in touch with you. And I have to tell you, just while we've been on this call, I got your newsletter.
Oh, good. Okay.
It just popped right up. So I'm excited to read it and be able to, so how can others stay connected to you, whether it's newsletter or make an appointment with you?
You know, my ECN connection group. It's the only networking group I go to now, just because, you know, that's my connection to some of my favorite people, right? You know, just connecting with that. And so, you know, always email. You can always see me on Facebook. Heather and Charlie make me look really good. You know, if you'd like my newsletter, if you want to get that, if you go to my website, www.carefree-beauty.com, you can sign up for my newsletter right there, and it would automatically come every month just to kind of keep up to date as to what's happening. If you know of somebody, or you yourself want to get eyebrows or eyeliner, scalp micropigmentation, ProCell done, you know, I'm very happy to take care of you, and I appreciate anybody you send my way because it's you guys that make me look good. So I appreciate it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mention, we'll just go ahead and last opportunity for questions, or anybody want to share anything that they've gleaned that they want to kind of just have that accountability to say out loud. You're welcome to unmute yourself. Chuck.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I think, Molly, what you've done here is amazing. I work with small businesses all the time, And this is what I wish they would do, what you're doing. You've been so, because as we know, a small business, it's all about systems and processes.
Right. It is.
You can't believe how many businesses I run across. People are operating their businesses basically out of a notebook.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's appalling. And so it's a pretty big stretch to go where you're at. And I think that it's wonderful, and it's like amazing what you've done. And I'm really excited that you're going to have this seminar about what you've done. I think this is phenomenal because people need to know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. My big thing through all this, when I've talked to other people about this, my assumption is that people know this stuff. And every time I say that, they're like, no, they don't. They don't know this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, it's time to help teach them.
That's why I think a
Right.
deeper dive would be good,
Mhm.
especially for our community,
Mhm.
doing a 2-hour skill shop and being able to break this down and have it be more interactive.
Well, by the
It's such
time,
a-
because I figure by the fall, I will have the whole thing put together in the 5-hour module, and we might be able to put together a skill shop, and
Okay.
piece some of the stuff I'm taking and
Yeah,
would
let's
work
talk
with
about
that.
that. When you're ready, let me know.
Okay.
Well, I want to close by thanking you for being part of this conversation to connect. And also we have an event coming up, our second Tuesday networking event with Sandy Stamato. So go to exceptionalconnections.com and grab your seat for that event. Our events have been selling out, and we're excited about the momentum. So I just want to encourage everyone to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thanks for joining us, guys.
We'll see Saturday too. Don't we have Saturday at Maki's too?
Yes. In fact, I'm
Yes.
going to mention that. So hang on for just
Yeah.
a second. I'm going to stop the recording.